Hi, my name is Catherine Michelle and welcome to my channel. I love knitting and crocheting and that's what I'm here to talk to you about. If that is something that interests you, feel free to like and subscribe or not. If you're not interested in any of that or you hate liking and you hate subscribing, don't do either. I don't care. Okay, so to dive right into it, today we're going to be talking about my top 5 tips for new knitters and crocheters. Where to start, how to begin, what to do, how to avoid the pitfalls, yada, 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 yada. So coming in hot at number 5, we're going to jump right into it, is keep it simple. Do not purchase an entire inventory worth of supplies for your new hobby, okay? If you are crocheting, I recommend you buy one crochet hook, something affordable. Clover Armory, you absolutely cannot beat. It is so affordable and it is such an excellent hook and it is carried like everywhere. Get yourself one average size hook. I recommend a 5.5 millimeter hook, or if you're looking to make, I don't know, something with thicker yarn, go for an 8/0 hook. Get yourself one hook, okay, and get yourself cheap acrylic yarn. I recommend a medium or worsted weight yarn, which would be like a size 4 on the little labels that you will see in those big box craft stores. Get yourself some cheap acrylic yarn. I don't personally love bulky yarn. Some people absolutely love bulky yarn. I don't love working with it, but if that's something that interests you, heck, get bulky yarn. I don't care. But I personally think it's a little bit more difficult to learn with, but neither here nor there. Pick the yarn you like and learn how to use it. I recommend that you start off with an acrylic cheap yarn, something like Red Heart Super Saver or Joann's Big Twist. Michaels has one, Loops and something. I don't know. I'm not really a big Michaels fan lately. I was just there today actually, and it's just it's like 2 aisles for yarn. Like, what is this place? And it's pretty much all Michaels brand at this point. I just can't. Anyway, get something cheap. Go to Walmart. So yarn, hook. If you want to knit, get yourself one set of circular needles, and you probably already have a pair of scissors, and the only other thing would be a tapestry needle to weave in your ends. That is my recommendation, okay? Keep it simple. You need to know if you like the hobby before you have all of the accessories for the hobby, okay? Number 4 is to practice the actual technique of making stitches. So if that is crochet, practice single crochet, double crochet, half double crochet, over and over and over again. If it's knitting, practice knit stitch, purl stitch, knit stitch, purl stitch, or just knit stitch, or just purl stitches. Practice, practice, practice. I recommend that you make squares over and over and over again. Is it exciting? No. Is it challenging? If you're new at the craft, definitely. And you just keep making squares until they turn out clean. So you learn how to hold your hook or your needles, you learn how to hold the yarn, and you learn how to maintain some level of consistent tension, okay? So what I mean by that is if you're just focusing on stitching, you're just focusing on making single crochet and you don't have this grand project in mind, you're not overwhelmed with the, oh my gosh, what do I got to do now in the pattern and this and that, and am I doing it right? You just take that off the table and you just tell yourselves, we're only going to make squares, because the goal of this right now is to learn how to stitch correctly. Then it takes away the expectation that you're kind of going to create this masterpiece of a scarf. Most beginners aren't purchasing a hook and yarn or needles and yarn and making their first sweater. They're just not. Maybe some are. Maybe some are lying. Maybe some are, and maybe some aren't lying. Maybe they're just more talented than most of us. But what I'm saying is that most of us need to learn the basics, and we need to learn them well enough before we move on to using those basics in bigger patterns where we can make actual items like scarves and socks and bags and all of those things. You need to learn the stitches first, or those patterns are going to be exceptionally difficult. Okay, so you want to keep it simple, don't go crazy buying all the things, and then you just want to physically practice the act of stitching, because knitting and crochet, it's all muscle memory. It is all muscle memory. I don't even think I could tell you off the top of my head how a double crochet stitch is made, but my hands know how a double crochet stitch is made. And that's only because it's done it over and over and over and over and over again. And that repetition is exactly what you need to learn. Number 3, do not compare yourself and your projects to the things you see on social media. Okay? Social media is an ugly place. Ugh, it's so gross sometimes. And sometimes it's so great. It's dark and light over there, baby. There's 2 extremes. But you are going to see a lot of people on social media making really cute things. And you're going to be like, oh my God, my thing doesn't look nearly that cute. There's this old saying that comparison is the thief of joy. And it is so true. You cannot enjoy your own whatever it is if you are just constantly looking at someone else's whatever it is and saying theirs is better than mine. Enjoy yours for what it is. At some point, if you keep it up, yours will be the one that someone else is looking at and saying, "Ooh, that's really nice," and mine doesn't look that nice. And what matters most is that you are enjoying what you are doing and you are enjoying what you are making, and not whether or not yours would place second to somebody else's item that you see and think is better than yours. Just look at to social media for inspiration, look to social media for motivation, but don't look at it and say, wow, that's so much better than mine, I totally suck. Like that's not going to do anything for you. You want to enjoy the process above all things. You want to remember that the point of knitting is not to have a knitted item at the end. It's to enjoy the act of making something for yourself and to have a knitted something at the end. Okay? But it's very important that you enjoy the process and that you don't spend your time comparing your work to other people's. Everyone is in their own different place. And honestly, before social media, knitting and crochet was something that we kind of did in private. We didn't really, there were knitting circles and things like that, but it wasn't on such a large scale where it is today, where people can just share their work in an instant, basically. Nobody really knew what everyone else was doing all the time. They just made stuff to make stuff. And that's more than fine. We're not in the knitting or crochet internet Olympics here. We're just doing a hobby and sharing that hobby and interest with other people. Okay. Coming in at number 2. Okay. Progress and completion is much more valuable than perfection. Okay. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is it is not worth it to put in a ton of time into making something that you're really passionate about, whether it's a sweater or a pair of socks or a bag. It is not worth it to put all this energy into something, to find that you have made a mistake, and then to trash the whole thing. Let the mistake live. It's okay. No one's going to notice, really. Okay? Very few people in the general public would be able to point out a mistake that's made in an item that you made. Okay? No one's going to know. The only person who's going to know is you. Have a couple glasses of wine and forget that mistake exists, and you'll be fine. Truly, completed is better than perfection. And it is so much more enjoyable to complete something that is usable and functional and pretty than it is to rip back something and frog something over and over and over again because you made one mistake 30 rows back. Don't do that. You will ruin the joy of knitting and crocheting and simply replace it with the frustration of perfectionism. Don't do it. The whole point is that it helps you relax. Now you're going to do this. You are going to seek perfection, especially in the beginning, and then one day you will learn that it does not exist and you will stop trying to do it. And when you stop trying to achieve perfection and you only want to achieve a really nice completed product, then you'll really come into your own as a knitter or crocheter, because that's when you start making truly beautiful things, because you can actually execute them without being hindered by your perfection seeking tendencies. We all have to learn the hard way on that one, so good luck. And last but certainly not least is it's okay to abandon a project you're not interested anymore. Okay? Consider this permission to bail on something that's not working. And this happens to all of us. We all have a whip graveyard, so to speak. And if you are new to the crochet and knit life, WIP just stands for work in progress. But we all have a graveyard of projects that just stopped bringing joy, okay? And we all come to a point with a big project where we're like, oh my gosh, I really want to get to the other side of this thing and start enjoying it. And that's different than sitting with a project and not enjoying it. And this kind of goes along with our last tip and trick, which, kind of enjoy the process. Don't, harp on your mistakes, yada, yada, yada. It kind of wraps everything up that if you are making something and you're truly not enjoying it, I'll give you an example. Me and my husband went camping this past weekend, and I always like to bring myself just like a crochet hook and some scrap yarn, because like you're in the woods, so like it's dirty, like scrap yarn, acrylic. Let's not go crazy here. And I'll just sit and make something very mindless. And I decided that mindless thing was going to be a ripple blanket. And I didn't have a pattern. We did have service though at this campsite. And I asked my husband, because I didn't even have my phone, because sometimes I just don't want to be anywhere near my phone. I asked my husband if I could look up a diagram of a ripple blanket pattern, and I just did it like off the cuff. And when I was doing it, what I did was there was a mistake I had made in the pattern where I wasn't making a double crochet in 3 stitches. You're supposed to double crochet 3 stitches together, which was what the pattern called for. And I was essentially half double crocheting 3 stitches together, just because I just made a mistake. And it created kind of like a little hole and 2 holes in the piece. And they were kind of like an aesthetic, like a design hole. But I really, I was kind of sitting there, I was like, I can keep doing this, or I can not keep doing this, and I could rip it all back. And I was like, you know what? I really don't like these holes. I don't like these holes. And I ripped the whole thing back, wrapped up the yarn, and I started over, because why not? I have no deadline on this blanket. This blanket is just for myself, and I think that I would personally like it a lot more if it was how the pattern called for it and it didn't have these stupid holes in it that I accidentally put there. And yes, was it kind of crushing to take all of that work and frog it backwards, and oh my gosh. But why? Why is that crushing? What am I running towards? Nothing. This is specifically to help me relax and meditate and, catch my breath. And maybe at the end of this, I'll have a really nice, cute blanket that I could give my nephew or something like that. But, who cares? The whole point is you could do what you want with this craft. So do what you want with this craft. If you don't like the way it looks, change it. You can do whatever you want when it comes to knitting and crocheting. There are no rules. Some will tell you that there are rules, and I guess that rules generally do exist, but you don't have to listen to them. They're rules that are arbitrary and somebody thinks matter in some sense, but it's just yarn. It's just yarn. And we're all just making it for fun. Maybe you're making it because you need something warm for the winter. That's cool. But don't take it too seriously. It's not meant to be serious. It's meant to be relaxing. And if it's suddenly becoming a chore, then maybe you should probably reassess how you are investing your time with your hobby. Your hobby should be enjoyable. And if it's something that you do to make money off of, then like in all things, there are, no matter what you do, anything that makes money is some kind of work. And there's always going to be some level of drudgery when it comes to work. There are always some things that are just less enjoyable than others. And if you are doing this totally independently, you're just in your house, you're not filming anything for social media, you're not selling anything, you're just in your house and you're just enjoying your knitting and your crocheting, who cares? And even if this is something that you are doing for money, try to remember that at your core you enjoy this, and try to enjoy what you can and kind of compartmentalize the things you don't enjoy as just kind of par for the course. It is supposed to be fun. If at some point it stops being fun, then you need to reassess how exactly you're executing your hobby and if you want to keep executing in that way. Because what's the point of doing something in your free time if you're not going to enjoy it? So overall, keep it all simple. Don't take it too seriously. Lighten up. It's just yarn. Who cares? If you get one thing from this video and one thing only, relax. It's yarn. It's meant to be fun. It's meant to be enjoyable. Enjoy the process. Make pretty things, make ugly things, make shocking things, make whatever the heck you want, but enjoy it. Stay true to yourself. Practice, 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 practice. Make your squares and just take it slowly. We're not in a race. We're all just here to enjoy ourselves. There's no deadline on you becoming an excellent master knitter or crazy crocheter. Like, there's no deadline. You're just here doing your own thing. Okay? So, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, leave them down below in the comments. If you think my tips are trash, tell me why. But that's it. That's all I gotta say. Thanks for coming. See you around.